Gaming Bolt presents 15 worst video game names that make no sense. What's in a name? It's entirely possible that a great game might have a terrible name, or that a game with a very cool name might turn out to be almost unplayable. But that's not what we're here to discuss. Today we're going to look at 15 games with the dumbest, most ridiculous titles you could imagine. This is not, of course, a judgment of the games themselves. Some of them may be good, some of them may be bad, some of them may be decent. This is just a list about 15 stupid video game titles. So, without further ado, let's jump right in. If It Moves, Shoot It. If It Moves, Shoot It has to be given credit as a name that successfully and succinctly conveys what the purpose and basic concept of the game itself is. But in all else but that, it fails. A video game's title should not look like the title of its instruction manual, but unfortunately, that seems to be the case here. Tongue of the Fat Man. When you first hear of Tongue of the Fat Man, you're probably going to be confused. Is it talking about a metaphorical tongue of a metaphorical fat man, or is it talking about an actual tongue of an actual fat man? Then you look at its cover art and you go from being confused to scared, because it shows a creepy fat man with a large tongue staring in your direction with manic eyes. Then you play the game and go back to being confused about why you ever tried playing this game in the first place. Ninja Baseball Batman. The perfect example to show that even a collection of seemingly awesome words can look ridiculous together. Ninjas, baseball, and Batman, with or without the space, can never not sound cool. But put them together and you get a ridiculous jumble of unconnected words that make next to no sense. Unpossible. Rule of thumb for thinking of video game titles. Make sure that they don't contain grammatically incorrect words. You'd think that everyone would know that that's a pretty basic rule. But not only does this game contain a grammatically incorrect word, its title is a grammatically incorrect word. Why the developers thought naming their game Unpossible would be a good idea is beyond us. It's completely unsensical. Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. Metal Gear Rising is admittedly slightly better, but it's the subtitle that makes sure that this game has a place on this list. Because really, what the hell does Revengeance even mean? It's not even a word. We know it's supposed to be a cool mixture of revenge and vengeance, but in all honesty, it just sounds ridiculous. Zinza Zinzik. You'll probably get an itch in your brain just looking at that title. Zinza Zinzik is as hard to read as it is to comprehend, and it's just as hard to comprehend as it is to say. Here's a fun fact though, the actual word is Zinza Zinza Zinzik, which is an obsolete form of mathematical notation representing the 8th power of a number, and it's even harder to say. So of those two, Zinza Zinzik is definitely the lesser evil. Golf Magazine presents 36 Great Holes starring Fred Couples. Yes, that's the actual game's title. Complete title. No, we're not kidding. We wish we were. You don't need us to tell you why that's not a good name for a video game, or anything. So we'll just quote a review from the game in the old school gaming magazine Next Generation. The only thing in this video game that hasn't been seen before is the massive 15-syllable title. Billy the Wizard Rocket Broomstick Racing. Coming directly after the mind-bending Golf Magazine presents 36 Great Holes starring Fred Couples, Billy the Wizard Rocket Broomstick Racing doesn't seem like such a bad name for a video game. But really, it's pretty bad. It's unimaginative and plain, and we're pretty sure the developer put zero thought into it. Sure, it's descriptive, we'll give it that, but so is something like If It Moves, Shoot It, and we've already been over that. Peter Jackson's King Kong, the official game of the movie. The easiest part of making a game based on a film is thinking of its title. You literally have to copy and paste. But the makers of the King Kong video game decided to explicitly mention, using as many words as possible, that it's a game based on Peter Jackson's film. You know, just in case it wasn't clear. Beyond the Beyond. Coming from a developer that has made games such as Shining Force, you would expect a game to be held to a higher standard. But Beyond the Beyond was a thoroughly underwhelming game, and its name was a perfect encapsulation of that. Beyond the Beyond. Seriously, who thought that was a good name? The Legend of Legacy. The Legend of Legacy was actually a decent game, one with a lot of flaws, but not totally unsalvageable. Its name, however, was the most generic, boring, and asinine name you could imagine. It's only slightly better than something like Beyond the Beyond. If first impressions are indeed lasting ones, then giving your video game a name as bland as The Legend of Legacy is probably not a good idea. 70s robot anime Jeppy X, the Super Boosted Armor. When a video game's name has words that don't make any sense, too many syllables and words, and what is seemingly a random jumble of unconnected words all at once, you just know it's doing something wrong. Also, the Super Boosted Armor sounds more like the name of an item in a low-budget, old-school, corny video game. So it's hard to fathom why someone might think of putting that in the very title of a video game is a good idea. Super Army War. Speaking of corny, Super Army War is an apt name for a World War II game, sure, but it's still not good. You don't want Activision to name their next Call of Duty game Ultra Zombie Nazi Killers, do you? And Super Army War was released in Europe as Glory Days: The Essence of War, so why not just do the smart thing and release it with that name everywhere? It's clearly a much better name. Touch Dick. You probably know about this one. Touch Dick was actually a dictionary software title released for the Nintendo DS. The fact that it made use of the touchscreen functionality was supposed to be represented by the word touch, while dictionary was shortened to dick. That second one was probably a bad idea. Putting those two words together was even worse. Big Mother Truckers 2, Truck Me Harder. No, just no. We're all for hilarity, but seriously, there needs to be a little subtlety about the entire thing. This sounds like something a 14-year-old angsty teenager came up with and was sure would sound like an extremely cool name. Really, really doesn't. And that'll be about it for this one. If you guys like what we're doing at Gaming Bolt, please consider subscribing to our channel, and I'll see you guys on the next video.